So, folks, there's this guy named Charlie Kirk, and I think Charlie taps into kind of the tendency of the conservative movement of the day to really just not understand where America is at the given moment in time. And like it's fascinating to see, right? Like Charlie is just, it's head in the sand mentality. It is simply, I am right. I must ignore the evidence of my eyes and ears. I must ignore whatever the experts are saying because I am right, and we are going to burn everything down to show how right I am. That's kind of like the current conservative mentality, at least as far as like conservatives in power go, right? And I think nothing to me really indicates this more than this 1 minute clip that went a little bit viral a couple days ago. And it's from a Turning Point USA event on like a college campus somewhere. And Charlie just has a bizarre take on child hunger. Throw it up.
Do you think that there should be free school lunch for all children?
No.
Why?
Of course not. Because parents should feed their kids, not the government.
What if they can't?
Go get a job.
A child? You
No,
want child
the parents should go get the job.
Yeah.
This is important.
They,
I don't believe
they have jobs and they can't support their children there because the minimum wage is so low.
No, you are a Dem, dude. Don't give me this stuff. First of all, this is really
I want children to eat.
Of course I do. Show me a single child in America going hungry. Doesn't exist. Number two.
I'm just gonna like pause right there. Show me a single child going hungry in America. It doesn't exist. Not even like the like you can maybe like follow him if you're a conservative. I can see you like following him and saying like, yeah, the parents should get the job. Parents should get the job and like support the kids. They should support their kids. But like I I think that even if you are a conservative, what should send up the biggest possible alarm bell in your head that this particular argument is full of shit is the fact that he says no child is going hungry in America. Show me a child. Like, this is just someone who is hopelessly out of touch. Hopelessly out of touch. Because, guys, 20% of all children in America are what is called food insecure. All right? What that means is they do not know where their next meal is coming from, and they do not have enough to eat. So they live in a constant state of precarity where they do not know if or when they're going to eat. And one of the reasons states like Minnesota have passed bills in order to ensure that school kids get like free breakfast and free lunch is because because of the pretty obvious, which is that if a child doesn't have enough to eat for whatever reason, they do not learn as well because they're busy starving. Children need calories in order to think and grow. This is not rocket science. And like for the conservatives out there, like if you're saying but the parents should have jobs that can support their children, like yeah, I agree with you. But the issue is from a policy perspective, regardless of what circumstances or what reasons a child does not have food in their home, there should be policies in place that ensure children get that food. We don't know what goes on in every single home. We don't know if parents are doing drugs, or if they get in a serious car accident. We don't know. We don't know what's going on in any given household. There's no way for us to know. But what we do know is what happens to every kid when they get into a school. And we, as taxpayers, have and members of the community, have a way to ensure that those kids get the food that they need. And that's by passing legislation that ensures that those schools provide food to those kids, regardless of their circumstances. That's the entire purpose. And you could say, well, the adults should have better jobs. They obviously, like, if a parent has a job, like, the kid can eat, and that's just not the case all the time. The minimum wage is, like, in some states, is like $7 an hour. You do not get enough to get by, and we know that. And it's not the parents' fault for, like, having to work a job at Walmart in a rural town. It's not their fault that all the other jobs dried up because the factory died. It's not their fault that all the mom and pop stores closed down because Walmart came in, opened up, and drove everything out of business before it jacked up their prices. It's not their fault. And you can say, well, why not just get a better job? Because not everyone can go get a better job. Better jobs don't just grow on trees. In a lot of places, that minimum wage doesn't cover rent. And one of the reasons that minimum wage has not risen is because companies like Walmart lobby the government. They pay hundreds of millions of dollars every year to make sure that that minimum wage does not go up, so that they can keep paying their workers garbage. And what ends up happening is that then the federal government has to step in order to subsidize those workers, in order to, like, have programs like SNAP and such. So what ends up happening is that a company like Walmart spends a ton of money lobbying. They get to keep their wages low, and instead of paying their workers a living wage, their workers get paid almost nothing. Their children start starving, and the government steps in to provide the bare minimum to keep people alive. And I think we, as the people, should demand better than the bare minimum in order to give a gigantic corporate handout to companies like Walmart. Show me one child in America who's food insecure. It is one of the most insane statements I've ever heard. Just real quick, let's see. In America, an estimated 4.2 million youth experience homelessness every year. Hey, Charlie, you want to go find, like, any one of those 4.2 million children who are homeless and ask them if they're really food insecure? 4.2 million. You think that, like, oh, well, sure, if they can't keep a roof over their head, surely they must be able to keep a meal. What the fuck are you on, man? That's insane. So, yeah, no. Charlie Kirk, even if you're a conservative, it should be obvious to you that this man is full of shit. But we're not done with the clip yet.
We have churches, we have food shelters, we have billions, and it does not exist.
We have churches, we have food shelters, and yet those are woefully insufficient. Churches and food shelters do not meet the total basic needs of people experiencing food insecurity in America. They just don't. They are not a sufficient program. The same way philanthropy is not capable of being a stand-in for government assistance on any level.
We have a child obesity problem, not a child starvation problem in this country. That 50% of our
Man, imagine imagine cheering in favor of starving children. Like, you understand, like, that's what happened there, right? He's like, "We have a child obesity problem," and it's like, those are 2 very different problems, right? Like, and you know what's interesting about those 2 problems? Despite the fact that they're very different, what's interesting is how they're related. Because, folks, if you are food insecure and you don't know when your next meal is going to happen, how do you think that might affect one's eating habits? If you don't know when you are going to eat next, what are you going to do when you have the opportunity to eat? You're going to eat as much as you can. You're going to eat a lot of cheap, unhealthy food. And so you're going to carbo load. And so what ends up happening is that due to this food insecurity, you get a lot of people growing up with eating habits and surrounded by food, just like, and that winds up creating obesity as a result. It's not it's not a difficult problem to understand how these 2 issues are related. It also throws the metabolism. If you starve/binge, your body chucks on weight because it doesn't know when it's going to get its next meal. Yes, there are basic biological factors that kick in.
Also, food
There we go.
insecure people's bodies adapt to put on weight easily, which can be passed on to their kids. It's a biological survival response.
It's true. Like that food insecurity and like stressors, various environmental stressors can activate different parts of our genetic material in that way. Yeah.
Kids are obese or overweight. There's not a single kid in America that has died of starvation in the last 10 years. Show me that kid. Show me. They're not. This is a propaganda thing from the.
Show. Yeah, Charlie. Yeah. I'm sure someone in this audience of college students just has a starving child to present you, you asshole.
The Democrat Party. Our kids are so overweight they have type 2 diabetes by the age of 8. So the number one problem for kids right now is that they're not moving enough and they're eating too much, not that there's child starvation. Instead, let's get back to a time where we say, hey, parents feed your kids, churches feed your kids, communities feed your kids, not big daddy government coming in and doing what the family should do. With that,
you know, it's what's really interesting about this is that Charlie Kirk inadvertently is arguing that the government is like literally that the government having programs that ensure that children have food is the reason why children are obese, and that really what we need to do is starve children more, which is kind of fucking insane. You know? Absolutely insane. I hate this man so much. Absolutely. Yeah, also, super interesting here.
I say thank you guys so much and have a great day. Thank you.
He literally just goes, starving children don't exist. Starving children don't exist. Show me a starving child that exists. Anyway, thank you, bye, and then leaves. That's the end of his talk. He doesn't even let this guy fucking respond. Not only can he not engage on the topic, he literally runs the second, like, someone might push back on his claim of, like, no starving children exist. God. What an irredeemable asshole. Yeah, dude is a spineless coward. Absolutely. And you know what? Shout out to this Chad in, like, the chain necklace, who's just, like, standing there going, like, oh my god, what a dick. Just like...
You look like a bitch.
Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk.
You
Had
look
to
like
end
a
the SC,
bitch.
but I'm sick of cunts saying we should leave it to charity while churches aren't taxed. If they're so good at it, where's the result?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, if churches are so good at like feeding children, why aren't they doing it? You know, like you can. I'm not saying that a lot of them aren't, because you can like point to like food drives at churches and whatnot, but like if churches were on top of this on like a social level, the problem would already be fixed. They aren't. And the problem is colossal. So leads you to the conclusion that the government needs to intervene in order to end child food insecurity. Just straight up. Brutus Magnuson, excellent point. Anyway, with that, I just wanted to dunk on Charlie Kirk for a few minutes because that was absolutely beyond the pale idiocy. And frankly, more people need to call it out. Like, just how brain dead this approach is. It is just the coward's way of being a conservative firebrand. Can't even engage with the facts.